All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to this session. So this is the No Fear Coding mini book study. And I put there's no book required because you will have access to the text we're going to deal with. No worries about that. Again, this is mainly K-5 geared. So if that's not in your wheelhouse, then it looks like everybody put in the chat is in the right place. So we'll just continue on. So my name is Jason Lullabo. I'm moderating this room, but I'm also presenting this session. So I am the computer science and GATE coordinator and technology trainer for Southern Nevada RPDP. And then I'm also Nevada's Code.org regional partner program manager. So all the K-12 programs that are in Code.org, basically that's part of my responsibility. And we've got actually Carrie Vidicic and where did she go? And there's Jennifer Vicente. They're the two of them who are on here. They're actually Code.org facilitators for us. So some of you who've been to that training in the past, they might be familiar names to you. And then if you're up in the Northeast, Connie Thompson might be the person you've dealt with in some cases as well. So my background is elementary. I was a first grade teacher, a fourth grade teacher. I was a gifted and talented specialist. That's where I really kind of got into computer science. And I was a computer strategist, a STEAM learning strategist. I was an assistant principal for a couple of years and did not love that, got out of that as quick as I could. So but I've had all those, my first degree is actually in finance and economics, so education is kind of a second thing for me, but I only worked in business for a couple of years, so it was a quick transition over to education. But I've always loved computer science and coding in any way I possibly can. So hopefully that passion comes through as we work through our bit today. So we're going to be using or focusing on the book No Fear Coding. And this book is by Heidi Williams. We've done, I think, 3 book study sessions on it now so far through RPDP. And it's really cool because Heidi Williams, the author, has joined us for those. She visits us and answers questions. It's on its 2nd edition, so you can see the cover there. But I think in the opening, I like one of the things that she says, remember that you do not need to be the expert. It's okay to have your students take center stage as the lead learner, and No Fear Coding is about having a growth mindset and allowing yourself to learn with and from your students. And I know whenever we have trainings on computer science, we try to emphasize that. It's really important because a lot of times people have that fear going into computer science that I'm not the expert in this, and so that scares me. And so to kind of get away from that fear and just kind of plunge in and go with it and let your students guide the way a little bit too. So so here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to give you a link to the slides here in just a moment. You'll see those come up, but we're going to dive into the text, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time away to read chapter 1. And so that's basically, we can't really have a book study unless we take some reading time, right? So as we go through this, now you can go ahead if you'd like. Let me pop that into the chat, so you don't have to type it in. Make sure I get it in here correctly. There we go. That should work. That should bring up these slides. Then you can go to the slide that I'm on now and then sort of follow along as we go. So the link that you're going to go to is the first bullet point there. It's the bit.ly/nofearmini. And I'm going to give you 12 minutes, which I think it should be plenty of time. The passage is fairly short, and you'll have, it probably takes maybe about 6 minutes to read it. But what I'd like you to do is, as you're reading, kind of slow yourself down, think about and identify any passages that are in there that you feel might have important implications for your work, and choose at least 3 of those, so that by the time you're done reading, maybe these could be sentences, they could be paragraphs, they could be short sections, but have 3 different things in mind. And if you want to, if you're at home next to a printer and that works for you, once you pull it up, it's a PDF. So you could print and highlight on it if you want, or if you just want to jot down some notes, pop up something on your computer or a piece of paper and a pen or pencil handy to remind yourself of the pages and passages you've chosen. So that's kind of the context we're going in with, is finding at least 3 passages or parts of that text that have important implications for your work or just kind of stand out to you in some way, okay? So again, you should be able to go to that first bullet on there and click that, and that should pull up the text. Now at the very end on the last page, you'll see it's cut off. I didn't copy the whole chapter. It's just so where it kind of ends just a little bit before the end is just a little bit before where you see it cut off there. So don't worry that you're missing something. It's just not the entire chapter to read. Just kind of as an FYI, we do have permission. I did get permission from the publisher to do this so that we could copy this and use this for this book study. They were happy to do that. So hopefully that is useful and helpful for you. Okay. Let's see. Thank you. I'm going to just pop one more time the link to the slide deck into the chat. And then if you go to, let me just copy the link also just for, let's see. In case you didn't get the slide deck up or for some reason can't find it, there's the link to the text. And so coding the chapter 1 coding is for everyone. Okay. So any questions before I start the timer? And this is just kind of time for you to read and do what you see here on the slide, and then I'll explain everything else as we move forward. But again, just 12 minutes for you to read and digest that chapter and be prepared with at least 3 different passages that you could possibly talk about. Okay. All right, so that was our 12 minutes of reading and choosing time. So the next part we're going to do is part 2 discussion. Let's chat about it. So how are we going to do that? There's a protocol for discussing text that I like, and it's called the 3 levels of text protocol. And so basically the purpose is just to kind of dive in and deepen your understanding of the text and think about the implications it has for your work. And so it does that on 3 levels. Literal, meaning you're literally just going to say what it was you read, just exactly as it was. And then interpretation. So what did you take away from it? And then the implications of it for your work. So that's what the 3 levels are. And we'll get into that and what you'll do with that when you get to your breakout rooms. But the way it'll work when you get to your breakout rooms, there'll be 5 minutes spent per person, and it breaks it up on the next slide. So you're going to be in breakout rooms of 3, so a total of 15 minutes. I'll put you there for 16 so you can kind of organize yourselves and appoint somebody to be your timekeeper. But there are 3 5-minute rounds when you get to your breakout rooms, okay? And the way those rounds look when you get there are on this slide. So you're going to do what's in this blue dotted box 3 different times, okay? Each person's going to get the opportunity to be the presenter 1 time, and they're going to spend about 3 minutes, and they're going to go through those 3 levels I just mentioned. So they're going to read aloud the passage they selected. That's the literal part, okay? Then they're going to say what they think about the passage, their interpretation, connection to past experiences, the interpretation part, and then the implications part. What does that have to do with your work, or what role does it play with it? And then the rest of the group has 2 minutes to kind of respond and talk about what you said and what they think about that and how it maybe applies to them. And so that's 1 round of 5 minutes. And then you'll go to the next person in your breakout room to be a presenter. And so that's why we chose 3 passages, because it says here, if another participant already took your passage, you select another one, okay? So next person goes through those 3 levels, group has 2 minutes, you switch to the third person, they have 3 minutes to do these 3 levels, and then 2 minutes to respond, okay? So that's basically what we'll be doing when we go to the breakout rooms. Again, if when you get there, you can appoint a person to be a timer, that would be great, just to kind of keep tabs so that when you get down, really, I think if there's a timer that pops up, which I think there is, it's been a while since I've used Zoom. So when you get down to 10 minutes, switch, when you get down to 5 minutes, switch, and then we'll come back to the main room and when it gets to 0, okay? So hopefully you have the slide deck up. If you don't, this is here because you won't see it anymore, obviously. But it's just those 3 levels: the literal, interpretation, implications, 3 minutes per person, and then 2 minutes to respond. And I'll be coming around if you have any issues to your breakout rooms. Okay. All right. Any quick questions before we go there? All right. Hearing none. Off we go. All right, welcome back, everyone. I got to every room and was able to hear some interesting discussions in a couple of rooms. I got wrapped up in some discussions as well, so it was good to hear. Hopefully, there were some interesting pieces you picked up and some implications for your work and so on. See some thanks for people who were in the room. So, kind of to wrap it up, we're going to do a little debrief as our next step here. And basically, we're going to do a chat waterfall. So I'm guessing most of you have been part of that, but I don't want to assume anything. So basically what that is you're going to type your response into the chat, but you're going to hold off and not press enter until we all do it at the same time. So I'll let you know. So I'd like you to just reflect back on these three things and put all three of those in your response in the chat. Maybe you just put like learned, colon, liked, colon, question, colon, however you want to formulate your response, but something you learned as you either read it or had your discussion, something you liked, again, either that you read or part of your discussion, and then a question you still have as part of that. And so all three of those pieces, if you could, I'll give you, I'd say about 2 minutes. I'm going to look here and formulate your response in the chat. But again, please don't hit enter until I ask you to, and that way then we'll get them all in the chat at one time. Okay, so a couple minutes to respond to those three prompts. About 30 more seconds. All right, go ahead and press enter now if you got what you had or you're finished, and then just take some time to read what others put in there. We'll just take another minute or two to do that. And I know a lot of times people try to voice over all this, but I know you can read, and I'm going to just be quiet so you can actually read without my distractions. All right, definitely lots of interesting stuff there. It was fun seeing what you learned or what you liked. And yeah, there are a lot of questions. You read everybody's questions, you have your own questions, and some of those don't necessarily have answers yet. What I sometimes say is that as long as I've been working on computer science so far, I've seen it come a long, long way. I mean, a really long way, to be honest. It seems like we have a long ways to go, but somebody I was working with on it a few years ago said, we just have to remember it's a marathon, not a race, you know? And so everybody who's here, at this conference and working on it and doing the things for their students, you're feeling like it's a race, I know, and hopefully you are racing as fast as you can. But also just know that, maybe it's going to take a while. It's going to take time to get answers to some of these questions. There's questions around resources and budget and why isn't it a priority and things like that. I think from the state's level and in a lot of districts, it is a priority. So hopefully it just becomes more so as time goes along. So thank you for sharing all those insights. And basically what I want to talk about is the further study, doing some more. So I know Nicole mentioned earlier, and I haven't looked at the roster, so I'm not sure if anybody else in here is, but she's already signed up for this. Here in Las Vegas at RPDP, Southern RPDP, we have, you can do the full book study with us. It goes March 21st to May 2nd. But there are two meeting dates. They're April 4th and 18th from 4:30 to 6:30. So you have those 4 hours of meeting time and then 8 hours of asynchronous work for a total of 12 hours certificate. The cost for that is $20, but the cool thing is that includes the book, which if you go on Amazon, the book is over $30 on its own. So you're actually getting the class for less than the price of the book, and the book is included. And so there is a link there to register or find out more information about that. That's the bit.ly/RPDP-NFC23. And if you're not here in Las Vegas, or you maybe that just doesn't work for you, the publisher has offered a discount. And so if you go to the link there, the ISTE.org/NoFear2E, and use the code NFC2E35, you'll get 35% off when you check out if you purchase the book that way. I'm pretty sure that makes it cheaper than Amazon, but maybe just check both places to see if it is or not. So just wanted to make sure that we invited you all to continue. We've had really, really good feedback on this book. Every time we do it, teachers like, this book is so accessible. I really love all the stuff that this does for elementary teachers, or the way it makes it so simple and so on. So hopefully, maybe you'll be interested in taking part in that. Alexandra asked about CUs. It's basically, 3 CUs per hour. So I guess that should translate into 4. So, okay. And so I put the link to the session evaluation here at the end. I'm going to also put the session evaluation link in the chat. And then the title of this is No Fear Coding Mini Book Study. So I'm going to just type that in as well. And my email address is there. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. And just as a reminder, when you leave here, make sure that you go back to the main session as well. There's a 10-minute wrap up from 12:20 to 12:30. So if you go back to Canvas and look in there, there's a closing session and a Zoom link to that. There will be a closing evaluation and attendance check there. So you'll definitely want to make sure you go back there. Don't leave here and then be done for the day. You got 10 more minutes in that closing session. Okay. Yes, the meetings are in person at RPDP for those 2 times. Let's see. Any questions or anything else that, if you want to come off mute and ask, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording though right now.